Hello, my name is Matthew, and I just got a new book in the mail that I thought I would share with you. And it's a new translation of short stories by Anton Chekhov, and it's translated by Richard Pever and Larissa Volodkonsky. I'll show you, it's beautiful. Isn't that nice? And it's going to be interesting for me to see which short stories in here I've already read and which ones are new to me and things like that. But um, Richard Pever and Larissa Volodkonsky have translated a lot of the Russians. So I thought I would share with you some of their other works that I have. I thought that'd be kind of fun. So I have their short, complete novels um, by Chekhov, and I bought this maybe a year or so ago, and I actually haven't read it yet. Um, so this is sort of a nice reminder for me. Demons by Dostoevsky. I'm reading this now. I'm reading this on my e-reader. This is my first e-read book, but this is the physical copy. Whole bunch of Dostoevsky. Notes from the Dead House. It's his time in prison camp. The Double and the Gambler. Two very different stories and different. Gives you a very different idea of Dostoevsky in general. The Double is almost supernatural, and the Gambler, you get to read a whole bunch about gambling addiction. My favorite book, The Brothers Karamazov. That thing. Notes from Underground. I am a sick man. I'm an angry man. I'm an unattractive man. There's something wrong with my liver, and I'm not quite sure what it is. The Idiot. I recently reread this. I think last year. It's quite good. The Adolescent, sort of a lesser known Dostoevsky novel. I liked it a lot. There were parts that I thought were very funny. The main character has a great perspective in the story, and in that he only has a very limited amount of information, and he's like figuring stuff out, and he'll confront people and go, so and so is sleeping with so and so, and all the people there go, oh yeah, we know. And it happens like periodically throughout the book. It's not a very funny book, but there's moments. Crime and Punishment. That one too. So, Alexander Pushkin. This is the Novels, Tales, and Journeys, the complete prose of Pushkin. This is another one of those hardbacks. And this was pretty great for me in the sense of being able to read a lot more about a very famous author that I haven't read very much. I've only read like the Queen of Spades and that Eugenie Onegin, however you say that. And this sort of solidified my opinion that I don't care for Pushkin very much. The Captain's Daughter was quite good. And actually there's a whole bunch of here I didn't even get to because I just moved on. One of my favorites, Nikolai Gogol. Where is it? Dead Souls. A guy shows up to town and he wants to buy the dead serfs off of the landowners. They're still on the census. And he's going around asking all the farmers if he can buy off their souls. And they're like suspicious about it. And as soon as they want them taken off their census, but as soon as someone else is like asking to buy them, they kind of don't want to. There's one woman. There's a great scene of a woman. The guy says, "I want to buy your dead serfs," and she goes, "Well, I have hemp that I could sell you." And he goes, "No, no, no," and he like re-explains himself and goes on and on and on. And the woman's still like not really understanding him. And She goes, I mean, I can sell you the hemp. I have the hemp. Um, and it has so many great like moments of manners. There's a part where there's a landowner and the guy that's new into town, and they're both trying to politely offer the doorway first for the other person, and they bicker back and forth until they finally decide that they'll squeeze their bellies together so they can go both sideways through the door without giving offense to the other person. It's full of really funny scenes. Dead Souls, and part 2 is terrible. Part 1 is great. The Inspector, and this is a great example of something that was brand new to me. They Richard Pever, Larissa Volkonsky, and then another person, Richard Nelson, did a translation of this play, and it's a play that I had heard of but hadn't got my hands on it, and it was great. Just so much fun to read. I might actually want to get back to this because it's really quick and really entertaining. Collected Tales, so short stories by Gogol. The Nose. There's a bunch of really great short stories. War and Peace. The Death of Ivan Illich. There's other. I think the Devil is in here. Master and Man. Kritzner's Sonata. Death of Ivan Illich. Yeah, it's quite good. So, I'm so thankful for these two translators. They've done just such a consistent job of making reliable, enjoyable translations of. In some ways, they had it easy because they're working with some of the greatest writers that ever lived. But presenting these writers to a new generation, there's really great older translations, but translations are really like a time capsule. They'll have the original work, but then there's a part of it that's like of the time that it was translated. So these just feel more immediate and more modern for me. And the reservation that I started to notice while I was moving through their translations of all sorts of different writers is like a little bit of a feeling that they're similar. So they're all really, they're fantastic. They're great. But when you start thinking that Pushkin is reading in a similar way to Tolstoy and Gogol and Dostoevsky, I get a little suspicious. I can't read any of them in the original, but I have a feeling that Dostoevsky and Tolstoy are two very different writers. And there are differences, but there's also just similarities that at a certain point you're reading the translators. And the original writers, Tolstoy, Dostoevsky, are not on the back burner, but almost like sharing the limelight. So I thought I would also talk about some of my favorite alternative translations to some of the writers that we just talked about. I thought that might be kind of fun. So this is what I just read last year, The Idiot by Ignat Avesy. Ignat Avesy, for the few things that I've read by him, he is my favorite translator of Russian. And that this was really great. The Captain's Daughter by Pushkin. This was translated by Robert Chandler and Elizabeth Chandler. It's a NYRB classic. I can't say that I don't remember if I enjoyed this more or less than the other one, but like I said, it's an alternative. This is 40 stories by Anton Chekhov, translated by Robert Payne, and it's a vintage. And this is the collection that I'm most familiar with, and I've enjoyed it. I don't have any reason to say anything bad about it. And I wasn't looking for a more like a better Chekhov translation of these works. But I enjoy Richard Pever and Walensky so much that as soon as I saw it, I wanted to have it. Okay, here we go. Dead Souls by Nikolai Gogol. And this is translated by Donald Rayfield. And this is my preferred translation. This book had me howling. There are parts where I would put the book down. Like, page after page, it was so funny. And like I've been saying, for as great as Richard Pever and Walensky are, they're not the funniest stick in the muds. This book just captured a spirit that I felt like must have been closer to Gogol's intentions. Just really great. Okay, here's my favorite novel, and my favorite edition and little package of a novel, and it's the Karamazov Brothers, translated by Ignat Avesy. It's a great cover, children. It's a children's novel. And yeah, now that I have this little channel, at some point I'm going to have to reread this again so I can tell you all the reasons why I love this book, and I love my experience with this book. I have a history with this book. One day we'll do that, but yeah, the Ignat Avesy translation is just perfect. It's just sublime to me. So like I said, I'm reading Demons. I said I was reading it on ebook. But this is Devils, translated by Michael R. Katz. And like right away, I prefer Richard Pever's and Walensky's title. They have it Demons, and it's a book about demons. There's the demons in your head. Like ideas can be demons, and it just catches a little bit better than Devils, I think. But this was the one I first read, the Michael R. Katz translation, and I thought it was really good. And I recently I bought this Crime and Punishment by Michael R. Katz. And the reason I bought it, I'll show you. Where is it? Oh, right. It's on the front cover. It has a quote. Mesmerizingly good. The best, truest translation of Dostoevsky's masterpiece into English. It's by Steve Donahue. Open Letters Monthly. So you can see Steve got himself on the front cover. So I have not read this, but I've read Michael Katz's translation of Devils, and with Steve Donahue giving his thumbs up review on this one, I feel pretty safe that it's going to be great. So I just pulled out a ton of books, and I just showed a whole bunch of books. Hopefully some of that was interesting. They're all Russians. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you love these translators, or if you have issues with them, or some of your favorite Russian novels, anything like that. So if you'd like, leave a comment, and thank you for watching.